We're going to have a little bit of conversation because the story behind this book is quite a Lewis story. Not all of which I exactly know, but can I invite Arunabha and Maha to the stage, and Pam, if she's around anywhere, as they know the things that I don't know. So just find yourself a seat around there. I live on Landport with this lady here, and there was one day, probably about a year ago, and it was a Saturday afternoon, and there was a knocking on the door. And after that, I have to hand the story over to somebody else because I don't know what happened after that. I couldn't be bothered to go downstairs, being my normal unfriendly self on a Saturday afternoon. And so I'm going to pass this on to my dear wife to talk about the next part of the story.
Thanks, Grump. He is a bit grumpy. He's sometimes really, really grumpy when he's writing applications. It's sort of saying, who was that? What are you letting people in for? And I said, well, they're quite nice, actually, these people. But the thing is, they came to the door and then didn't know them from Adam. And they said, excuse me, is this just John Agard, or does he live here, or is this the Lewis Literary Society, or not really knowing where you were going, and so. So that's the point you asked. Yeah, I think that was you, and you.
Yeah. So I came across John in another format, not the cricket poetry, but first I read his Listen, Mr. Oxford Don, and I guess most of you are familiar with that, or John can tell you about it later. But then what happened is slowly I came to know of his cricket poetry as well. And the first one I came across was the first one he read tonight, that is Prospero, Caliban cricket. And there were some others. And I thought that this has the potential to be combined into a book. Only thing, I didn't know where he lived. So I took the help of Maha here, and we looked up Google and found that address. And we just decided that we'll go there and try to find out what happens. And we ended up there, and obviously there was some skepticism when
you came all the way from Holland, was it?
Yes, I live in Amsterdam, so yeah. I came up from there. So there was some skepticism, as is quite normal if somebody, total stranger, shows up in your door and asking for somebody who doesn't live there. So I could sense it. So what I did, John talked about this book, and I was carrying it. So I plonked it down, saying that this is 472 pages, that I'm a cricket writer. I've come from Amsterdam. I want to meet him. And the moment I mentioned cricket, it opened the door, because everybody knew John was crazy about cricket. And within about half an hour, we are at the Rights of Man. And John was talking to me. And the same day, the book was conceived. And I'll talk about it later on, how the book became bigger and bigger. It was supposed to be half the size, but John kept writing.
I think Arun's nicely summarized the whole thing. First of all, I want to say it's great to see a full house. It was brilliant. I think all that I would add to that was my, originally I came across John's work quite accidentally, because I'm a very big, I'm fascinated with Satoshi's illustrations. And he has illustrated a lot of John's books, actually, which are the non-cricketing ones. And I have a collection of Satoshi's work with me. And when I realized that, John's actually written the cantos and also Oxford Dawn, I think I was getting sucked more and more into John's, discovered more and more of his work. And then when Arun spoke to me about it, we suddenly just decided this got to be a book. And when the opportunity to step up and into Satoshi's shoes came up and do the illustrations for the book, I literally jumped at it. And it's been fantastic, the whole journey. That's what I would say, yeah.
So the thing that after that was a series of phone calls that you were making, trying to find where John was in Lewis that afternoon.
That's true, yeah.
So maybe John could talk.
Hello? Yeah. No, but I don't always pick up my phone. But then it rang and I said, hi, Pam. She said, oh, there's an Indian guy here. He has a book for you, a cricket book. And then I said, well, I'm around town. We can meet at the Rights of Man. And I thought I might bring an odd cricket poem I might have written from some book. But I was impressed that Arun had a pile of books, of a diversity of books. My children, he might have found a poem, a cricket poem in some obscure out-of-print children's book. And we got chatting. And I must say, without any hesitation, he's been a marvelous editor. His passion and his literary insight. And let me say this, Arun is unique, because people might have a grasp of the game technically, and they might remember some facts, but I don't know where he comes out with these things.